The semifinals of the Champions League is supposed to be a massive event, and it seems like Barcelona and Inter Milan both took that to heart. What a game this was, a 3-3 where we saw the good, the bad, and the ugly from both of these sides. And now, heading back to Italy on Tuesday, there is still all left to play for. Welcome to episode 685 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Dan Hilton, and I want to thank everybody that joined me on the watch-along on Big Up for today's match. And while I'm not sure if I'm going to do a watch-along for Real Valladolid, I will definitely have a watch-along next Tuesday for the return leg against Inter Milan. So to make sure you find that and all other updates, there are a lot of free things you can do. First is subscribing on Big Up, then subscribing on YouTube. Also follow me on all social media, or you can help me out on Patreon too for as low as $3. All right, with the preamble out of the way, let's dive in. Here are the 5 headlines from Barcelona's 3-3 draw with Inter Milan in the first leg of the Champions League semifinal. Headline 1 is Lamine Yamal scare and Inter Scarier. Even before this match began, Kool-Aid had their heart pumping out of their chest because for the pregame warm-ups, it didn't really go Barca's way. Lamine Yamal winds up needing to see the medics about a potential hamstring thing. Fortunately, he was able to play in the match. And unfortunately for me, who along with Domagoj spent a week worrying about the tactics and all the ways that this match was going to start and the chess match that we were going to see, throw that out the window because in the first minute, we got a goal from Inter Milan that did throw everything into chaos. It was Thuram's goal from the opening whistle. Barcelona were spread out by Inter Milan, and before Barcelona could even get possession of the ball, Inter Milan were attacking Gerard Martin. The clearance that came in, Koundé did not clear his business, and then Dumfries put it right back in. Inigo Martinez slipped. What can you do about that? And Thuram backheels it past Szczesny. So that is how we get to the 1-0. It was a comedy of errors, and that's not the first time I'm going to say that about Barcelona's defending today. But yes, Inigo Martinez winds up slipping, and Gerard Martin getting tacked from the opening whistle from Inter Milan, which wound up being a theme throughout this first half too. The positive after that goal was that Barca did settle down, and from that point on, they were on the front foot. Through Barcelona's good play, they had a 12th minute shot from Torres that goes wide. It's Barca in transition. Lamine Yamal, he was seeing 2 defenders consistently on that right side. And Torres, unfortunately for him, takes a heavy touch on the Yamal cutback, and his shot has the power but not the accuracy. I'm going to sprinkle the little things throughout. This is the first time that I'll mention that a 17-year-old for FC Barcelona had 100 appearances, the first time that has ever happened in Barca's history. And not only did he have 100 appearances, but he consistently, for at least the last 70 or so of those appearances, has been seeing 2 defenders. This time it was DiMarco and Mkhitaryan for so much of that first half until both those players were substituted out. But Lamine Yamal also, even seeing the double, completed the most dribbles of any players in this match with 6. He was sensational. That's the first word that I'm going to use, the first adjective in sensational, but this might have been the best first half of football that Lamine Yamal has ever played, and I've yet to get into his goal contributions. 19th minute, let's talk Torres again. It's off a corner this time. Inter don't clear it, and Torres on the half volley, just wide and so close to deflection. What do I say about making your own luck? Inter Milan got a bit lucky in that first half with their 2 goals, and Barcelona, they weren't as lucky, but they were making their own luck. They were getting chances on goal, and they were on the front foot. As I said, they were moving the ball quickly, which is what you have to do against a 5 at the back, or if you want to call it a 3-5-2 for Inter Milan, you could do that too. But Inter weren't necessarily defensively any more solid than Barcelona were, even though Barcelona, here's where they weren't solid. That's on the set pieces, because here comes goal number 2. It's Dumfries off the corner from DiMarco. Acerbi wins the header over Gerard Martin, who had one of his worst 45 minutes in a Barcelona uniform, and Dumfries then on the second effort gets the better of Olmo and Pedri right in between them and the acrobatic finish. My only real question from the set pieces from Barcelona is, was it supposed to be Dumfries against Olmo? Because this wasn't the first time that this was going to happen in this contest, and that is not a matchup that I love, Olmo against Dumfries. And Barcelona at that point, we're 21 minutes in, and Barcelona are down 2-0. Headline 2 is he's not normal. If I had just 2 headlines to work with in a 3-3 match, one would be about Inter Milan and Barcelona conceding 3 goals. The other one would just be about Lamine Yamal, because here is his wonder goal, and certainly what I will call in his young career his Champions League moment, because it's a semifinal. He's a player, that being Lamine Yamal, who scores big goals in big moments, and that is a mark of a generational superstar. That is truly what Lamine Yamal already is at the age of 17. He took on 4 with this goal. Nobody on Inter wanted to step in on him in fear of giving up the penalty. and then he found just enough space, even crowded with white shirts all in the box, found just enough space to get that shot off, and he knew where he wanted to put it. It was right into his favorite top far corner. That is where Lamine Yamal knows he wants it, and you can criticize him for the ones he misses, but from that angle and that distance, no doubt about it, Lamine Yamal, what a special, special player. And I'll reiterate 100 times over that other clubs don't get to root for Lamine Yamal. What a stroke of brilliance from the academy, sure, but great luck from FC Barcelona to find a talent like this and cultivate it in the right environment and turn him into who he already is. Because he almost had a brace within 2 minutes. 2 minutes later, 26th minute, DeMarco and Mkhitaryan trying again against Lamine Yamal, but still no luck against him. He gets to the goal line. Somehow, this is saved by Sommer off of the crossbar. Lamine Yamal at that point could have had 2 golazos in 2 or 3 minutes and could have tied this up by putting the team on his back solely. He was so special in this game, and if anybody doesn't have him as the central headline from this game, other than Inter having 3 goals and going back to Italy, then they didn't watch the right match. Some more chances for Barcelona coming up in the 30th minute. It's Olmo. He winds up dancing, goes through the legs of Bastoni. I thought Olmo had a pretty good day. There were good moments, there were bad moments. I know he was frustrated when he came off, but he should. He could have done better, but I also don't think it was particularly a bad performance from Olmo, unless you are going to put the mea culpa on him on the goals and the set pieces and things like that. But Olmo for this one just didn't get enough on it, and Sommer is there, as well as Sommer also being there on a cross from Lamine Yamal that could also have been dangerous. This point, though, in the first half, I'm asking questions of Ferran Torres. For Ferran Torres, I was questioning some of his decision-making. I thought he missed a run to the far post on a Yamal cross. I thought he also stood offside and asked Pedri for it when Barcelona were taking it back on the gegenpress. So there were times when I thought Ferran Torres probably could have been in the right place at the right time when he wasn't. But Ferran Torres overall was getting involved, was dropping in between the lines, was what you need to do against Inter Milan. Tactically, very much like I had previewed with Domagoj, there were ways that Inter Milan could have got to Barcelona, but it was Hansi Flick's tactical battle to lose, and I don't think Hansi Flick lost a tactical battle today. Headline 3 is elite mentality. I credit Hansi Flick and why Barcelona is so good because A, he usually wins a tactical battle, and B, he generally has his team winning the mental battle as well. This is a team that does not give up. They don't seem to be phased when they go down in games. And if you have that kind of belief and self-confidence and you pair that with generational talent from the likes of Lamine Yamal, you put yourself in a good position to continue to come back in games. And Barcelona did it on the back of Inter Milan also being a bit flustered. You could see with the way that they were trying to take as much time to try to stall the game down, to take a breath, not even time wasting, but just take a breath for themselves. In the 34th minute, they committed the cardinal sin of the rare throw-in turnover. And then Lamine Yamal right after that took advantage, delivers a dangerous ball in the box. Then the 36th minute, Yamal does well to win it back. In the first half, I thought he had a really good defensive effort as well. Rafinha feeds Olmo, but Sommer there again to stop it out for a corner. Sommer, absolutely 100% better than Szczesny. I'll say more about that with the other goals that are scored here, but Sommer is the reason why Inter Milan did not lose this game 5-3, as opposed to if Szczesny had been a bit better, Barcelona could have won this game 3-1. 38th minute, though, this is when it's 2-2. It's Pedri and Rafinha. Good stuff from them. Yes, Torres still had to finish it, but I think there's also a bit on Inter as well, because they were stuck in the two minds between the high press and the low block, like I talked about. And Thuram, as one of the forwards that's supposed to be pressuring Pedri, he doesn't do that. He doesn't put any pressure on Pedri, and so he picks out Rafinha at the back post against Bissek, heads it right down into the path of Ferran, and he is not missing that one. Rafinha now has 20 Champions League goal contributions, breaking Messi's record with at least one more match to go, hopefully 2 more matches. And if Barcelona wind up winning it all, I feel like Rafinha is going to get at least another goal contribution under his belt. What a sensational campaign for him as well. And that tells you the consistency that Rafinha has had. Yeah, I think he is dealing with the same knock that he might have picked up on international duty. He has not been the same player, but very much like what I've said about him for the last 2 seasons, he finds ways, even when he's not playing his best, to contribute in positive ways to matches. And I actually think it's what he did here. He wasn't his best on the day, but still, when we look up at the goals and the score sheet, you go, hey, that guy was greatly involved in 2 of these goals and deserves the credit for having that killer instinct when Barcelona need him. The bad news comes in the 42nd minute. Koundé out injured. On comes Eric Garcia. Lots of players were slipping throughout that match. I did have some questions about the pitch tonight at Montjuic. I'm worried that it might have been a little overwatered because it wasn't just Inigo Martinez on the first Inter goal. It wasn't just Koundé. You saw Lautaro Martinez. Just a ton of players slipping, sliding around. And for Koundé, this injury also you could blame probably the 4,000 minutes of football he's already played this season. That's a huge part of it. It does appear to be a hamstring injury, and that obviously will keep him out of at least the second leg on Tuesday and maybe more. So with all the injuries to Real Madrid in that El Clasico, you're going to say other than the Inter Milan stuff, that might be the last true big match for Barcelona this season. So if they take care of business in the second leg against Inter Milan and now Clasico against Real Madrid, as well as potentially a Champions League final, you got 3 more matches that you're just praying that if Koundé could at least make a Champions League final, Barcelona would be in good shape with his injury. Soon after that, Lautaro also winds up having an injury scare, and it winds up being more than just a scare. It's a no-contact injury. Looked like that he was able to finish the first half, but came on at halftime for Taremi. Yeah, that's what happens when all these players are playing this much football, and maybe you have a little issue with the pitch or something like that. Players are just dropping like flies this time of the year. Inter in that first half, I'll end it with a stat here. They did not complete 100 passes. They were at just 98 for the first half, which to me says, hey, if it's Leganés, if it's a Dafe, if it's a team like that is okay and comfortable playing without the ball, they can manage 90 minutes in the Liga against Barcelona or Real Madrid. But for Inter Milan, over the course of 180 minutes, Inzaghi was going to have to change something up. Because if Inter Milan had played the second half like they played the first, they were definitely going to be put to the sword in Barcelona today. Headline 4 is Inzaghi makes his choice. As I just said, Inter Milan had to change some things up for the second half. And not just through personnel. I said Taremi came on for Lautaro Martinez, as well as at halftime for Hansi Flick, Araujo coming on for Martin, which I think was the right move to make. Inigo Martinez goes out to left back, which you would like to see Inigo Martinez be able to play as that ball-playing left center back. I think it does hurt Barcelona as far as their quick transitions. The game works a little bit slower, and I thought that's what happened in the second half to Barca. But I think in terms of what you were losing defensively with Gerard Martin there, you had to bring Araujo on that game. It's just Inigo Martinez at left back and Araujo at center back is better defensively than Gerard Martin at left back. He was not ready for Dumfries today. He showed with the physicality, and I think there are big questions if Balde isn't fit for that second leg as to what Hansi Flick is going to have to do. 50th minute, I have some compliments for Eric Garcia. He has his first moment in this game on a Bissek cross. De Jong deflects it and DeMarco goes high, but I thought Eric Garcia and De Jong both defended well in those instances when Inter had a little bit of a fire to come out in that second half. And De Jong, overall in the day, let me know if you disagree, but I thought De Jong was exactly what Barcelona needed him to be, especially in the second half. When legs got tired, De Jong, the reason why he's been so beloved by so many managers who are unable to have any control in matches. Now, Pedri, obviously, he gets all the credit because he is the control. He is that metronome that Barcelona need to control the pace of a game. De Jong isn't really that, but he pairs so well with Pedri because he uses legs, his instincts, his recoveries, all those important factors that De Jong does today. He also has this season under Hansi Flick been much more calm on the ball. You can see that in the performance today. Completed 100 of 103 passes in the match and didn't make mistakes. He also created the most chances in the match with 3. So when De Jong gives you something positive offensively and does not hurt you defensively, plays within himself and plays his game, it's a good performance from De Jong. Really a calming presence in that second half that I think helped Barcelona get to the 3-3. Now for the choice that Inzaghi had to make in the second half, the low block or the high press, that I thought was a choice from the opening whistle. But because Inzaghi got the opening goal, he didn't really have to rely on that. He was always in a position of power going up 2-0. Here comes Barcelona back, sure. But at that point in the second half, I think Inzaghi's decision was, hey, let's go with the low block because we're going to be okay taking a draw back to Italy next week. He would also rather counter with speed against Eric Garcia than Koundé. Now, Eric is also more press resistant, the trade-off then being Araujo in the middle. But yeah, Inzaghi, I think, was saying, all right, let's try to counterattack the best we can against Eric Garcia without Koundé back there and see if we can take a draw back to Italy. In the 64th minute, it looked like it was going to be better than a draw for Inter Milan to take back to Italy, though, because, again, it's another set-piece folly against Barcelona, and it's Dumfries, again, winning a header. Either he wasn't marked or he was almost man. Araujo was also defending the space. I think that is on purpose. And I also think this one, more than anyone else, is on Szczesny. He hesitated to win it in the air. He did not win any balls in his box at the high mark. That is a negative stat against Szczesny. He did not control the air today, and that hurt Barcelona. It is a comedy of errors, maybe on the marking, but I do pin this one quite a lot on Szczesny. Denzel Dumfries also was a man of the match for good reason today. He won the most duels in the match. He basically put Gerard Martin on the bench, and I think he's going to give Szczesny a few nightmares today. Dumfries, very, very good. I still think Lamine Yamal was the better player, but yeah, good on you, Denzel Dumfries, for having a good day. And then headline 5 is all left to play for because Barcelona, once again, the mentality. They could have wept, they could have cried, they could have felt like the game had slipped away when they went down 3-2, but no, they fought back again, and less than a minute later, it's 3-3, Barcelona on a corner. Olmo plays it to the top of the box, Lamine dummies it, and Rafinha one-times it, puts his boot through it. Sure, it's an own goal, but I feel like they were a bit unfair to Scarier. What was he supposed to do with the ball going at that speed with that kind of dip on it? Yeah, it hits his back and goes in, but I don't think that's an own goal. I think that was a goal for Rafinha, and they were just denying him an opportunity to extend his goal contributions. A huge goal, and good on you, Rafinha, once again, not having his best match, but still showing up big when Barcelona needed him. 67th minute, Fermin on for Olmo, immediately gets involved as Fermin at one, has one in the box, but his shot doesn't have enough mustard on it. On the other side, Kubarsi gets a block on Thuram. In the 75th minute, a decisive moment for neutrals or people rooting for Inter and against Barcelona. Dumfries on the outside, just barely. Mkhitaryan is offside at the back post. Chesney also could have done better, I thought, on this one, but Barcelona dodged this bullet just by the foot of Mkhitaryan. Kubarsi is the one who almost keeps him onside. And for once, I think in this game, Barcelona were not the luckier team in this contest. Inter Milan were the luckier team. This is the one moment when Barcelona were the luckier of the two sides. At that point, I also felt like this game was going to end 3-3 because the Barcelona press wasn't as deadly in the second half. It did look like Barca had lost their legs a bit, including Lamine Yamal and Ferran Torres at the top of that press. And I don't blame them at all. They had to go extra time against Real Madrid just a few days ago. And my bigger question is to the Spanish FA. Why don't you help your teams in the Champions League and maybe don't schedule the Copa del Rey final for 10 p.m., even the time of day, 10 p.m., 4 days before the Champions League semifinal? I don't know. It would have hurt Real Madrid if they had made it at this point too. So it's not like the Spanish FA would have been helping Real Madrid out. 83rd minute is Kubarsi and Pedri out for Christensen and Gavi. Huge moment for Christensen. He played 26 minutes all the way back in the first Liga match of the season against Valencia, and now he makes his return in the semifinal of Champions League. But that guy is cool as a cucumber. Wasn't too worried about him, but he comes in with this game continuing to be finished by 4 center backs on for Barcelona, with Kubarsi heading out for Christensen. 87th minute, another Lamine Yamal moment, hits the crossbar again and bounces out. Torres finds him after Fermin plays him through. Barcelona just aren't lucky enough in this game. 91st minute, Rafinha didn't miss on the long-range shot. Scarier, again, the big man for Inter Milan defensively. Inter Milan showed their cracks here, and so did Barcelona, which means that this one is all left to play for. Yes, it's going back to Italy, but if Barcelona get Balde and Lewandowski back, we know that Koundé will be out. But if Balde and Lewandowski are back, I think Barcelona are just as dangerous. I think they're more talented. And I think tactically, Hansi Flick has his answers as to how to break down Inter Milan. And yeah, Inter Milan have a few answers, but I think as far as open play, Barcelona have a huge advantage going into that second leg. It is the Champions League semifinal. I'll also remind you that it is supposed to be hard. It is supposed to be difficult. It is supposed to be exciting. And this match, fortunately, I think for everyone, was just that. It's 3-3. So yes, all left to play for on the road. But hey, you got to do it on the road, at home. It doesn't matter. If you want to see the Champions League final, you got to be able to get it done regardless of the venue. I said before, Barcelona should make the final. I think they're the better team. But hey, you never want to count out a team like Inter Milan, who made this match as exciting and enjoyable as any neutral would have wanted it to be. So again, thank you so much for joining me for these 5 headlines. I remind you, subscribe to the YouTube channel, become a member for free on Big Up to enjoy those watch-alongs with me. Follow along on all social media, and as always, until next time, Forza Barça.